Hello, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to another episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. Thank you so much for tuning in. First off, I'm going to apologize if this looks weird, sounds weird. It is weird right now. So here's the problem. I am in the podcast studio, ready to record for today. My webcam died. It is dead, and I do not have an extra one just lying around. So I am actually recording this now on the cell phone, and I'm using the lapel mic. And not gonna lie, the audio quality is not always the best. It's not the worst, but it's not the best. So I'm gonna apologize if this looks a little weird. I'll see how much I can do in post recording editing. But I'm sorry if everything is just a little different than we're used to. I'm making the best with what I got. I don't really have time to run out and grab a new webcam, come back, get it hooked up, do all this thing. So, hey, such is life. We wouldn't want this to be easy, right? But hey, diving right into this week. So we had the London Marathon drawing last week that we talked about. Okay, it's done. Everything is in the books. We were correct. There were 840,000 people who submitted their names through the lottery application. So, we threw that number out there last week, but it hadn't been confirmed yet. Okay, well, now it's confirmed. Now we know that it was that many people, and that is nuts. So that is crazy. 840,000 people trying to get into the London Marathon. I think it is safe to say that running is kind of back up because that is a record setting number and it's not even close. So we have that in 2025. Again, if you have an in with a charity, you might want to start exhausting all other options. Last year, at 540,000 applicants to the race, everyone had a 4% chance of making it. This year, with 300,000 more applicants, of course, our percentage goes down, and I'm not going to do the math on that. I'll let you guys do that if you so desire. But long story short, our chances are bleak. So any way you can find to get into that is the direction I would go with if I were you. So that's where we are in the London Marathon. So for the World Marathon Majors, in Boston, the people who qualified through their times, that window opens in September. Tokyo is always a little weird with me. I think it's sometime in the fall, but it is very hard to figure out exactly what their time frame is. And then of course we've got Chicago is set, New York is set, Berlin is set coming up in the fall. So now we're looking towards 2025 and what we can do with the World Marathon Majors next year. So that's where we are right now. So this past weekend, the podcast was in Lincoln, Nebraska. We are up there for the Lincoln Half Marathon. They do also offer a full marathon. Let's go ahead and do our little medal reveal here. Here it is. This is what we got at the Lincoln Half Marathon. Not going to lie, I really like this medal. I think they did a great job with this medal. It's very slick. This looks World Marathon Major-ish. It looks like a London Marathon medal. It looks like a Tokyo medal. It looks like a New York medal. It looks like a very official medal. So this is it. And then on the back, it's got the 13.1 and the Lincoln Marathon. So very cool. I like this medal a lot, which honestly, that goes right into the entire weekend. So the Lincoln Half Marathon, I like this race. I like this race a whole bunch. And so what we did as the podcast, we left just Saturday morning and headed up to Lincoln. It was a Sunday morning race. We drove up. It's only a 3-hour drive from Kansas City. Got into Lincoln, just went right to the hotel where the expo was. Went to the expo. Nice expo. This race definitely wants to make sure that you have no issues as a runner. So it's you get your bib, you turn around, you go to the table where they will scan your chip, you verify your information, and then you move along. They're not leaving room for a chip that doesn't work or for information that is not correct. They want your age division award to be correct. They want your time to be correct, who you are, where you're from. They make sure that everything works. They make sure your chip works, and I appreciate the heck out of that. That is well done. So I got up there and I got my bib, got my shirt, which I'm rocking right now. This is the Lincoln shirt. Again, at least as far as I can see on my phone screen right now, this is recording okay. Yeah, hopefully there's no issues. So I got the shirt, and checked out the vendors. They just had 2 aisles of the vendors there. Some of the vendors that were there, and the one that means the most to us, of course, is the Good Life Halvesy. The folks from the Good Life Halvesy, the race in Lincoln, Nebraska that takes place October 27th, they were there. And so as I walked up to the table, because they had a table there and they had this year's medal, so I got to see this year's medal. They had the medal for the Capital City Challenge that a lot of us are doing. But as I walked up wearing a Back of the Pack podcast hat and then one of our podcast t-shirts, they actually knew who we were. They said, "Oh, you're from the group that's bringing a whole bunch of people up." Yes, we are. Our team is over 50 strong for the Good Life Havesy. A lot of people from Kansas City have signed up and will be going up there. A lot of people just did Lincoln. A lot of people going after that Capital City Challenge. So super cool that they knew who we were. We talked for a little bit. I would not at all be surprised if sometime between now and their race, we have a Good Life Havesy episode where we talk to some of the folks representing Good Life Havesy. I hope we can make that happen. That would be super cool. But it was awesome that they kind of knew who we were. So I saw the rest of the expo, a lot of stuff local to Lincoln, local to Nebraska. That's all well and good. And I went, checked out their merch stand, might have bought myself another shirt, and then I was off. So I stayed about 4 miles outside of downtown. And once I got to my hotel room, I didn't go anywhere. I was done. I just stayed in. I ordered myself some, what is it, Dine and Dash? No, it's not Dine and Dash. DoorDash, that's what it is. Boy, I'm old. Dine and Dash, please. Ordered myself some DoorDash, had my pasta that evening, actually ate well. Unlike the Too Slow for Boston marathon, where I ate like garbage the night before, this race I took a little more seriously, apparently. And I ate well. I had my spaghetti. They sent me a nice piece of Italian bread. And I just munched on that for the evening. Drank my water, got to bed early. I really wanted to take this race seriously. Now, I had no idea what to expect for this race. I know that races that have a full and a half, and again, this is the big Lincoln, Nebraska official race. You know, it seems like every city has their official race. Here in Kansas City, it is the Garmin Kansas City Marathon. It is the Kansas City Marathon. This is the Lincoln Marathon. This felt to me very businesslike. This was a very businesslike race. And I think you have to be if you're offering a full marathon. You can't mess around. You can't mess about if you've got people running 26.2 miles. You know, the half marathoners were all lovely and it was great. But the full marathoners, that's a big deal. It's a big deal to them and it's a big deal to the town. It's a big deal to the race. So they had a very kind of businesslike approach to it. Good Life Havesy is a complete party start to finish. And don't get me wrong, love it. Lincoln was definitely more businesslike, but I loved it as well. All right. I also think there is definitely a place for that. Hey, we're here, man. We're mean business. We're going to get people. Their chips are going to work right. Their bibs are going to be right. Their registration is going to be correct. We're going to start when we say we're going to start. We're going to have a lot of volunteers and a lot of official people who are helping us out and making sure that this race goes off with no problems. And I am here for it. I like it. So it is not quite a point-to-point race, but it's close. As you go through your 13 miles. You start on one side of the big stadium where the Nebraska Cornhusker football team plays, and then you end on the other side, which, I mean, there's some space in between. You're all the way on the other side of the stadium. Like I said, not quite point-to-point, but you're definitely going to do some walking before the race, and you're going to do some walking after the race. That's just how that town is laid out. That's how the parking situation is going to be. So after my night of being very well prepared, then sleeping like garbage, because that's what we do, I was up first thing in the morning, I was dressed, and I was out the hotel. So I stayed at a particular hotel. I'm not going to run down the brand because I stay at this brand wherever I go. I'm not going to run down Lincoln, Nebraska because they are certainly not in charge of this one hotel. The hotel I stayed at was not awesome. You could tell it was an old hotel that has been refurbished probably by this new owner, but there were definitely some issues. My little coffee pot in my room, that had not been emptied out from whoever stayed in that room prior. The trash in the bathroom had not been emptied out from the stay prior. And again, who knows how long it's been? Could have just been a day. Could have been longer than a day. Either which way. That's kind of And then the bathroom had a little bit of an ant situation. So that wasn't great. But either which way, I am a rough and tough son of a gun. I was able to somehow survive. I was up early, had my stuff all packed up because this was just an overnight. I was out the door, zoom, off to the start line. You have to park in downtown Lincoln. No problem. I found a nice place to park. Their meters all do not run on Sunday, so it was a free place to park, which was glorious. And then I made the walk over to the start line. The walk took me 15 minutes if that. And I honestly didn't pull out a phone or a map to figure out where I was going. I was just following the people in front of me. I kind of figured everyone knew where they were going. And as everyone's kind of herding in the same direction, I figured I was safe. But I got there, got up to the big football stadium. I'm looking around there. Very cool. Very big football stadium. Of course, Nebraska Husker football is super important to them. Great. Walked more to the start line. Could see the start line. The start line was right in front of me. A lot of barricades up though, and then a lot of, I think it's National Guard. They're a very large military presence of people who are there to both assist with the race and then take part in the race. And I took a left and I was walking down towards where you could get into the finishing chutes. Not that I was trying to get in there, I just like to see where I'm going. And I found where the bag drop was. Now I don't drop a bag, but I took a peek in because I'm trying to see everything. And the whole building is the Nebraska Cornhusker football practice facility. And so all the runners are inside this facility. It was a beautiful morning. It was absolutely beautiful. Low wind, cool start, low humidity, felt great. But everyone's still hanging out inside because it is just a hair warmer inside in the practice facility than it was standing outside in I think it was a 42-degree morning when I got out of my car. Okay, no problem. Got in there. I was able to meet with some of the other Kansas City runners, people that I know. We were all just there hanging out, people dropping their bags. You also go pick up your packet in there. They did have race morning packet pickup. And we're all just kind of going and doing our thing, and we're shooting the breeze and we're getting stretched out. It was nice to have a lot of space and a lot of room. You didn't have a bunch of people that were just kind of collapsing down on you. There, wasn't just, squishy. We're all squished together. It wasn't any of that. So that was great. The practice facility was nice and big, and we all were able to just have our own little space, sit if you wanted to sit, stretch if you needed to stretch, take your group pictures before the race starts, all that. It was beautiful. So they start getting on the bullhorn. It is time for everybody to get lined up. Now, I had seen in everything that I had sent that my race started at 7:30, or that the race started at 7:30. Not actually correct. They sent out the start times by waves so that it didn't just say, hey, everyone starts at 7 o'clock and then your wave doesn't get started until after 7:30 or whatever your case might be. No, they sent out specific start times for specific waves. Again, very businesslike. That is a business decision right there. Like, that just seemed to me to be quote unquote professional. It wasn't everyone get lined up at 7 o'clock and then stand around. It wasn't that. Some marathoners were starting at 7:10. Their official start time was 7:10. My official start time was 7:30, as I was a half marathoner and I was in Corral H. Okay, okay, as much as I hate wave starts, and I hate wave starts, this seems the best way to do it. There is no misrepresentation of when you're going to start. There is no, this might happen, that might happen, or however long in between. Nope, you're going to start when it is your time to start, when your wave is supposed to start. That's when you're going to start. Okay, okay. As much as I like to complain, I'm not going to complain about that. That actually works out pretty well. So the people that get going, we're going through waves, and they leave a lot of time in between waves, maybe a full 5 minutes in between waves. But my official race time was 7:30, and I started right at 7:30. I can't complain. Now, I was in the starting chute for a while. There was just the kind of inching forward, inching forward, inching forward that you have to do. But hey, I started at 7:30. That's when I said it was going to start. That's when I started. So, okay. It was a great start. You start, you go downhill. I can't do a turn by turn because there was a lot of turns for this race. But I got to tell you, this might be, and again, this is not a disparaging comment. This is actually a beautifully wonderful comment. And I mean this with all sincerity of my heart. And I thank the city of Lincoln so much for it. This might be the easiest half marathon I've ever done. I feel like it was nothing but constant downhills. It was nothing but flat. There was one hill I can think of around mile 9 that people struggled with. Maybe a lot of people ran up it. That's where I was kind of fighting myself at that point. My foot not 100% yet. If you want to hear about that, go back to last week's episode. But that is probably the easiest course I've ever done. And even with injury and even not feeling my best, I PR'd that course. I PR'd it by 14 seconds over Rock the Parkway, which we know Rock the Parkway here, and that was just, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. I PR'd despite injury at this race in Lincoln. because this race is easy. My goodness. Now, people tell me that I think the Des Moines one is a very easy half marathon, a very flat half marathon. And that's great if you like flat half marathons. The Chicago Marathon is flat as hell and it drives some people crazy. Lincoln is all downhill. There is very few uphills. It is all downhill, and you are just able to cruise, baby. You can just put yourself in cruise control and go. It was amazing. So I started the race with our boy Cody. Cody, much love. Was running with him for the first 5K, and while he was he was saying, "Oh, these are nice, easy miles." I was at a pace just a hair more than I'm comfortable with because that was his slower pace is a hair more than I'm comfortable with. It's a hair more than my faster pace. So after the 5K point, he and another guy he was running with, and he can tell you the story of this. But in our first 5K, we came across this runner. He was just kind of pacing with us, young guy, maybe 20 years old, a student I think up there in Nebraska. His buddy wasn't able to run the race and just like gave him the bib a day before. And so he was just going to go out and do it. He said the longest he'd ever run was a 5K, but he was going to go do this half marathon because he had this half marathon. And nicest guy in the world. He was cruising right along. After I dropped off at the aid station right at the 5K point, I know he and Cody they found their pace and they were going. They were shooting the breeze and just trucking right along, and that was great. And I know that even Cody tells the story better, but when they got to mile 12, this kid still had a lot in his tank. He's like, "Oh, is this where we start going faster?" And Cody told him, "Yeah, this is it, bud. Go." And so that guy took off, and I'm sure he finished, I don't know, 220, maybe 215, 220, maybe 225. He was in that window. And again, for a very first time half marathoner with no training who had a bib thrust upon him, he did great. So great job out of him. Congrats on your first half marathon. That is super cool. I know Cody was trying to take it easy that race, but when you get running with someone and you just keep them pace and you're shooting the breeze and blah, 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 Cody ran himself a great race. And I wasn't too terribly far behind. I just knew I wasn't going to keep their pace the entire time. Just got to be real with myself, but was still able to pull a PR for me. Didn't feel like it. I did not feel like I ran that fast of a race. And even when I looked at my time with like a mile left and thought, heck, I guess I could actually PR this race, it still didn't enter my mind that that's what I wanted to do. It's like, no, I'm doing my thing. I'm going to try and get finished here. My foot is killing me, but not nearly as bad as it was at Top City last week. Not those issues. But I guess, okay. And then as I see the stadium and I know the finish line is right around the corner, it's like, okay, well, you know what? Just turn it on, give it everything you got, see what you can do. And when we turn this last right, and you're going on to, into the finishing chute, shall we say, I hit the sprint as best as I could. And I think that was what saved me the PR because I only PR'd by, like I said, 14 seconds. Well, I think those 14 seconds were me right there at the very end, just giving the last kick that I had. That's what got it. But I'll take it. But hey, I honestly can't say enough good things about the Lincoln Half Marathon. I can't say enough good things about the Lincoln Full Marathon. While I didn't do it, I have heard nothing but great things about it. And their medals for that full color me jealous. I wish I had done the full just to get that medal. So let me pull the medal out again. Okay, so here's this. Now the blue part you see here was red, and then it was bigger. It was a noticeably bigger circle medal. So the same professional look, this look I really enjoy. This was red on the backside with the 26.2, and again a bigger medal. But man, it looked slick. It looked really slick. So everyone I saw walking around with those, it's like, man, I know I am not ready for a full marathon at this particular moment, but kind of wish I had done it. So what I think I'm going to do, if I can last this long, is this was the 47th. I would love to run their 50th for the full. Like just the way this medal looks, and with it being a 50th, if I can hang on to marathon distancing that long, I would love to hit their 50th anniversary and run the full. But again, that's down the line, that's down the road, but that's kind of my goal. So again, 2 thumbs up for the Lincoln Half Marathon. I fully intend on going back next year unless it conflicts with something that I just desperately want to do. Next up is the Good Life Halvesy. when we go back to Lincoln. It's not next on our list. But again, this was very businesslike. Habsy is very party atmosphere. And not disparaging at all. I honestly think Lincoln is easier. I think the Lincoln Marathon, half marathon, was an easier course than even Good Life Habsy. And Good Life Habsy is not difficult. So whatever y'all are doing up there in Lincoln on getting your courses measured out, you're doing it correctly. And I'm here for it. I love it. You guys have some great races. So I'm going to take a moment here. Okay, still a green light. Wanted to make sure this little microphone thing was working and you guys can actually hear me. Here's hoping that this doesn't somehow fall apart. I've been trying to record this all afternoon and I've had nothing but technical difficulties. So anyway, that's that. So what we're going to go on next, again, I don't think there's anything else I can cover from Lincoln. Great job to everyone who finished. Great job for a lot of people who I don't know personally, but they've either heard of us or they saw us at the expo or they saw our people in the Back of the Pack podcast t-shirts. I know we're going to have some new listeners from this race. And if you did the full or the half, whatever you did, congratulations to you. A great morning, perfect weather for running. People did really well. Again, even I PR'd, and I don't feel I'm in any realm of PRing right now, but I was able to do that. You guys did great. So congratulations to each and every one of the finishers of the Lincoln Half Marathon and Full Marathon. Fully intend on being back. Fully intend on doing this race again. Next up for us, here we go. Running with the cows. It is almost time for the cows. It is coming up now in just about 5 days. We've looked. The weather right now looks decent, like a 65-degree day with partly cloudy skies. I fully expect that somewhere, some meteorologist is going to say, oh, this huge warm front just freed up from the Gulf and is coming right for Kansas City. It's going to hit Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m. The first town it's going to hit, Bucyrus, Kansas. Look out for heat advisories. It might actually turn into flame out there on the road. So anyone out doing running with the cows, fully expect that you will melt and die in the middle of this course. That's how that race goes every year, and that's what I'm expecting for this year. I don't care what the extended forecast says. They still have 5 days to change their minds. But the 15th anniversary of Running with the Cows is coming up. I will be there. I will be in Bucyrus, and I will be cussing the whole way unless it actually is a nice day. I've not done the new course. I know they changed it up. They have a brand new course. It is a series of out and backs. You go out, you come back, you turn a corner, you go out, you come back, you turn a corner, you go out, you come back, you turn a corner, and then I think you're done. Somewhere around there. So this sounds like it could be a very interesting race. A lot of the people, it's actually probably 50-50 from last year on people who said, oh, I like this change, and people who said, this is the worst thing ever. We'll see. I'll let you know next week what I think about it, but I don't know what to expect. The thing about Running with the Cows, though, they have the best post-race buffet in town. That's what they advertise. They're not lying. There's always a ton of food. And because Bucyrus, Kansas is such a small town, the whole town comes out for it. Everyone is bringing grandma's secret recipe for apple pie or whatever the case might be. And it's there for the runners to enjoy after the race. So this really is it's a small community-ish race. And so they're all out in front of their houses, or they're all at the center of town where the start and finish line is. Everyone's cheering you on. You got people running up and down the road on gators, just making sure people are okay. So it's not bad. You are out in the country. You're running some country roads. Not if it's a nice morning, you got some nice crisp air, clean air. If you like that kind of things, and I do because I've done Running with the Cows 100 times. If you like those things, then you'll like this. It's just sometimes that heat and humidity can get to you. So if you're running that race, just be really hydrated and let's not mess around. Okay. Let's all get through the cows with no issues. There we go. All right. So we are in May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So what I want to do is we're going to touch on just a little piece of mental health issues, I think every episode for the month of May. If you don't know my story, if you're newish to the podcast, I took up running in 2010 when I had mental health issues. For me, it was coming out of the wrong side of a very ugly, messy, bad divorce. Very painful situation. I took running up to help with my mental health issues at that time. So that is the real quick and dirty of my story. A lot of runners start running due to mental health issues, divorce, loss of a relative, loss of a friend, military service, and coming back from that. There can be a million different reasons why you've started the running journey. and we keep it going because of what it does for us. So something I did, I pulled up because I knew we were going to do a long review of Lincoln. These are just 5 ways to deal with mental health. And these are really simple, but what I find fascinating, if you listen to these, how many of these pertain to running? There's a reason we all get into running when mental health issues strike. It's not by accident. It's because if you look at all the things you're supposed to do to improve your mental health or deal with a bad mental health situation, they almost all can point directly to the running world. And that's why we gravitate towards this. This is why we're in this world that we're in, and this is why we've stayed in it. Even though I got divorced in 2010 and I probably wasn't mentally right from it until I don't know, yesterday. No, there's a reason. It's you may not be in crisis, but things come up in life. And so when you take these healthy habits and you adopt them and then you build on them, even when the bad things come, and they do, you've already got this base. You've got this thing in your life that can help you. Now, again, I'm going to read this very quick list of 5 things that you can do to improve your mental health. Think about what points to running. First one, try to relax and reduce stress. Okay, well, duh. Like, we get that one, of course. Yes, you would love to try and relax and you would love to reduce stress. Think about what it is in your life that reduces stress. Can be running, can be go for a massage, can be take a walk, it can be read a book, it can be take a bubble bath, whatever it might be. Think of the healthy ways that you try and reduce stress in your life. Number 2, find ways to learn and be creative. Okay, now this one's big in the way we pertain, or the way we point this back to the running world. When people are going through mental health issues and they want to be creative, that's where you start coming up with metal displays. That's where you start worrying about your bib spreadsheet or your time spreadsheet and tracking PRs and tracking negative splits, or tracking, how many 5Ks I've done, how many 10Ks I've done, how many half marathons I've done. And you build your spreadsheet, or you put all your bibs in a book and you write the times on them. You can be creative in the running world to help with your mental health, because after my 2 open heart surgeries, that's where I built my running spreadsheet. That's where I built my running book. That's where I put it all together, because I was dealing with issues and I wanted a creative outlet. Now my creative outlet is this. It's doing a running podcast. So this is my creative outlet. I could not sit there and draw you a picture. I could not paint you a painting. I could not crochet you anything. A lot of the things that people do to be creative, I cannot do because I lack those talents, but I can talk. I can run my mouth. And so this is my creative outlet that always helps with my mental health issues. The next one, spend time in nature. A direct point to running, trail runners, us runners on the road, being outside, go for a run through a park, run through your city streets, run through whatever. You're outside. If you're not on the treadmill and you're outside, you are in nature. Again, an easy one to point to. Next one, and this is number 4 already, look after your physical health. Haha, ding, ding, ding. Like, there's the big one right there. Physical health, running, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. They are, just one and the same, and they're all equally important words. But it is very important that if your mental health is struggling, you need to focus on your physical health. Physical health is immensely important when you're going through it up here in the old brainium. All right, so don't ever think that it's not. Can confirm 100% accurate. Your physical health is very important when you're going through the shit up in your own head. And then the last one, try to improve your sleep. Okay, well, you know what? If you go out and you run yourself a full marathon, guarantee you're going to sleep all right. You're going to do okay that night. You're going to find some sleep, because your body's basically just going to give up. It's going to be like, I'm done. 26.2 miles, man. I'm going to bed. I don't care what you think. And heck, it happened to me last night. Last night, after I got home from Lincoln, Nebraska, after this long trip, after a half marathon in the morning, 9 o'clock rolled around. My body just said, finished, done. Don't talk to me anymore. Take yourself upstairs, go brush the teeth, and then you're going to bed. And that's what I did. Because who am I to argue with my own body? That's what it said to do, so that's what I did. Ta-da! So those are, again, just 5 things. 5 so simple things to deal with mental health. Just some of the stuff that you can point directly to running. This all is hand in hand, part and parcel, one and the same. And so it's good to just have some reminders so that you know exactly what you're doing. So if you want to help reduce your stress, go for a run. You want to find ways to learn and be creative? Do something with all your running information. You want to spend time in nature? Go for a run. You want to connect? Oh, I skipped one. Connect with others. Connect with others. How did I miss that one? Connect with others. And again, just real quick sidebar, as I was sitting in the hotel Saturday, and again, I didn't leave the hotel once I got there. I had my DoorDash on the way and I'm carb loaded. I'm doing stuff on my phone with all the things we post on the Back of the Pack podcast Facebook page. As I'm sitting there and I'm responding to people and I'm liking things, there is no social media team for the Back of the Pack podcast. It is me with my phone going through stuff. So if you get a response from us, that's me. So either blame me or love me, whichever way. But man, as I'm sitting there and I'm just going through it, I saw someone post how Lincoln was going to be their very first half marathon ever. And then we meet the kid. It was his first half marathon ever. You want to talk about connecting with others. It made me so happy to just know that there was going to be other first timers out there or people who took their time to respond on social media to what I posted. This is my connecting with others. And it is a huge mental health thing that you know that there are people out there like-minded like you. And not like-minded as in we're going through a terrible time together, but like-minded in we're going to both go do something amazing tomorrow morning. We're both going to run half marathons. For me, it was 62. For them, it was 1. And I'm just thinking, man, this is like the coolest thing ever that I have this opportunity to connect with all these different people from different areas, different skill levels. And it just, you want to talk about mental health? It made me smile, just made me happy as I sat there playing around on Facebook, on the Back of the Pack podcast Facebook page. It was great. So I'm sorry I misconnected with others, but connect with others directly correlates to running. Your running groups, the people you meet at races, the people you meet through the podcast, whatever, direct correlation. Look after your physical health, go for a run. Try to improve your sleep, go for a run, then go to bed. All of these things, all of them except for maybe try and relax and reduce stress, they all point directly to running. Let me point at you. They point directly at running. And so that is why running is such a wonderful thing when dealing with mental health issues. So this was the first episode. Again, we're going to touch on something different. All these episodes in May. We'll see what comes up next time. I'm sure something will. But hopefully this helps just a little bit. If nothing else, just put it in your forefront of your mind. It's like, man, okay, I've been kind of down with whatever is affecting you, but running can definitely be the answer. It can definitely be an outlet that we have for better mental health. Physical health, mental health, running does them both. How cool is that? So anyway, we'll see you all this weekend at Running with the Cows. That's what we have coming up next. After that, I actually have a weekend off. No races for mid-May because I've got a class that I'm going to attend. So I'm going to do that. It takes both Saturday and Sunday. So no races for me. It's going to be weird. It's going to be really weird not going to a race on a Saturday or Sunday morning. But oh well, I'm sure I will survive. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Back of the Pack podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Walker. My pleasure as always. Congratulations to all the first time, 50th time, 100th time race finishers, wherever you are from this past weekend. You guys did great. And thank you so much for everything you do for the podcast and playing along with us on social media. Trust me, I enjoy it more than you know. And I'm sorry again for the visual issues or audio issues that we may or may not have for this episode. I will do the best I can in post-production. So that's going to do it. Everyone have a great week of training. We will see you Saturday in Bucyrus, Kansas, as we run with the cows or wherever you might be this weekend. Have a safe week of training. We'll see you next week.